In the Big Four North American sports leagues, there's 123 teams using 117 nicknames. And even in those rare cases of two teams sharing a nickname, they all currently compete in different sports. For example, the Giants are both a baseball team in San Francisco and a New York football team, while the Kings are both an LA-based hockey team and a basketball team out of Sacramento. Seeing as how a team's nickname is a large part of what defines a franchise, it makes sense that there's so little crossover between teams. So how is it that for several decades in the Canadian Football League, a league that historically only has about 9 teams competing, 2 of these 9 teams held the same nickname? The Saskatchewan and the Ottawa Roughriders. Now I should clarify, these teams didn't have the exact same nickname. Saskatchewan is the Roughriders, while Ottawa was the Rough Riders. But that one space between words hardly excuses this as being anything but ridiculous. So let's take a look at the series of events that led up to these two teams sharing a nickname. Similar to the origins of the Stanley Cup, in 1909 the Grey Cup was created to be awarded to the top amateur rugby football team in Canada. Back then, any team across Canada could compete for the Grey Cup, and some notable participants include the University of Toronto, Queen's University, and the Toronto Parkdale Canoe Club. Eventually, though, the Grey Cup became property of the Canadian Football League, and by the 1950s, it was the championship trophy of the top professional football team in Canada. So how does this explain our two Rough Rider franchises? Well, you see, both teams originally existed as amateur clubs, and with Ottawa and Regina, Saskatchewan being a couple thousand kilometers away from each other, neither team cared that another amateur club held the same name. It would be like if a high school team from New York was mad that another high school from Florida also called themselves the Tigers. It was a non-factor since other than the case of playing for the national championship, these two teams would never face off against each other. However, as the game evolved, they both became very reputable franchises in the sport, first playing each other in the 1951 Grey Cup, with Ottawa winning the Battle of the Roughriders 21-14. So a few years later, when the Canadian Football League was officially founded in 1958, the top 9 teams from across the country were chosen as founding members. The Toronto Argonauts, Montreal Alouettes, BC Lions, Calgary Stampeders, Edmonton Eskimos, Hamilton Tiger Cats, Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and yup, both the Ottawa Rough Riders and the Saskatchewan Rough Riders. Though to be fair, this still wasn't that big an issue, because Saskatchewan was a Western Conference team, while Ottawa was in the East. And much like Major League Baseball at the time, CFL teams from opposing conferences would typically only play each other in the finals. It wasn't until 1981 that the two conferences agreed to a full merger, becoming the East and West divisions of the CFL, and teams playing a full interlocking schedule of 16 games per season against each other. However, by this point, both franchises had such long histories with the name that neither wanted to give it up. And therein lies the long story of how a 9-team league had 2 franchises with the same name. Eventually though, in 1996, the Ottawa Roughriders folded, ending the go-to joke for those looking to mock the CFL. In 2010, however, Ottawa was awarded a new CFL team, and while the team owner tried to bring back the Ottawa Roughriders, Saskatchewan enforced their trademark on the Roughriders name and blocked its use. Although, if you look closely enough at the logo used by Ottawa's new team, the Ottawa Redblacks, you may notice that the original Rough Rider franchise is still alive and well to this day. Thank you so much for watching the video, everybody. If you like that, please subscribe because I'm going to be releasing one of these every Wednesday, so stay tuned for more.